What's up, everybody? And today we're checking out First Living Medal of Honor recipient Delta Force, and this is by Brothers in Arms. I've watched some of their videos before, and they are absolutely brilliant. So if you haven't already, go over there and give it a subscribe. It's really worth your time if you're into this style of content. They do really, really good footage. What should I say before we start? Oh, don't forget there's that questionnaire, new project I'm working on. This is the last time I'm going to push it. What is it? Thursday that this goes out. So it's the last day that you will be able to take part of that questionnaire, where I am doing a really cool new project that I'm so excited for. It's gonna become massive, even bigger than this channel. And yeah, it's very, very exciting. If you want to be a part of it, do the questionnaire. It takes like 30, maybe like a minute to finish. There's like 12 questions or something, and then you can pop your email in at the end if you want to know what's going to happen with that. Very, very exciting. Other than that, let's shut up. Let's pull this up. And let's find out more about the First Living Medal of Honor recipient.
In the early morning of October 22nd, 2015, Thomas Payne and his team stormed a prison in Iraq.
2015 wasn't long ago. Well, 9 years ago.
Multi-story buildings holding over 70 hostages facing execution.
Holy.
Just as the special forces were engaged in a fierce firefight with the insurgents, the building suddenly caught fire while the hostages were still trapped inside.
Oh my God.
Time to free all the civilians unharmed was running out at a rapid pace. For what happened next, Thomas Payne would receive the Medal of Honor, America's highest military award.
Oh my God, what a way to set up this video. What a great... If the writer of the script for Brothers in Arms, hats off to you. That super sucks you in really quickly, doesn't it? Tells you exactly what's happening, tells you what's at stake. Boom, let's get into it. Oh my God, can you imagine being one of them soldiers being like, all right, this is what we're going to do. You got a plan, you're going to figure it out, you know what you're doing, you know your role, and then all of a sudden everything just goes tits up because it catches fire. Oh my God, like the panic. You're going to be a good soldier.
Payne was a motivated and very experienced Delta Force soldier with more than 13 years of service.
Woo!
In 2012, he had even won the Best Ranger competition, an annual 62-hour selection in which only 2 soldiers emerge victorious.
Wow. Okay.
In the process, Payne didn't let his severe shrapnel injury, suffered 2 years earlier during a deployment to Afghanistan, slow him down in any way.
So the guy was already a badass. Let's be honest. He was already a very, very good soldier.
He deployed to every trouble spot in the world a total of 17 times to demonstrate his skills on special operations.
Wow, 17
Payne's
deployments.
Numerous trainings included a sniper course, as well as the jump master and tandem master qualifications, which means that he can carry another person who has never skydived before when free-falling.
Interesting.
On his current deployment, Payne was in northern Iraq as a deputy team leader to assist in the fight against the so-called Islamic State, which had captured large parts of the country.
So this guy, let's just go over who this person is as an individual before we even get into the actual story. This guy already had such a vast amount of experience. Like, this guy was one of the best already. Do you know what I mean? And then this happened. So bear that in mind when you hear this story about what's going on. Just think about how many tours he's already done. And I want to also remind people, there's a lot of things that soldiers do that get unawarded. Right? There's a lot of things and a lot of situations soldiers are in that just gets dismissed and people forget about it. And so he could have been already in some crazy situations that aren't even told. So just bear that in mind when we listen to this.
On October 22nd, 2015, Payne's team was tasked with freeing more than 70 Iraqi hostages held in the northern city of Al-Havija. The Special Forces had spent an entire week planning the mission and preparing for any contingencies they might face.
So it's already they did a week of planning and then it all went on fire. I'm sure they already, like, obviously the contingencies were like, what happens if all the hostages die? What happens if I'm sure one of them was, what happens if they try setting the place on fire? Like, they've got to cover every single scenario, haven't they?
When new reconnaissance images suddenly showed freshly dug graves outside the prison,
oh my God,
it became clear that the hostages could soon be executed.
Yeah.
As a result, the task force was given the green light for the mission, and the operators, along with their Kurdish partner forces, boarded several helicopters, which took off toward the IS stronghold shortly thereafter. The Kurdish forces consisted of a unit simply known as the Counterterrorism Group, or CTG, which is part of the Peshmerga and has worked with Americans in the past. Just before dawn, the Chinooks touched ground again, and the special forces rushed through the stirred-up sand toward the prison. After the Kurdish counterterrorism unit unsuccessfully attempted to blast an entrance through the prison wall, the Americans used ladders to climb over. While climbing over the prison wall, however, they came under heavy fire, seriously wounding Delta Force soldier Joshua Wheeler. Once on the other side...
Did he die? He just said seriously wounded. So my wonder is my guess is he probably didn't die.
Dust and smoke made it nearly impossible to see. Relying on his training, Payne led his team to the first building, where his medic left to help tend to the wounded man. The Kurdish troops were initially reluctant to move forward, but Payne and his comrades motivated them to advance despite the adverse conditions. On his orders, they successfully secured the building where the first 38 hostages were being held, encountering only light resistance. As they broke the lock on the prison door, Payne could see the expression on the hostages' faces change from fear and despair to excitement and joy.
Oh, I bet. Can you imagine being a hostage? The digging graves for you outside. Oh my God. And it's a case of getting this stuff done ASAP. And then all of a sudden they come through the door. Oh my days. The relief.
With the tension gone, some of them even began to cry. But for the special forces, the job was far from over.
Yeah.
While the team was escorting the civilians outside, Payne received an alarming radio message. His comrades at the second building were making less progress and needed urgent help. The enemy had barricaded themselves and was resisting against the special forces with everything from grenades to suicide bombers.
Oh my God.
Payne could hear the noise of the battle all the way to his position and knew he had to act quickly. Saying, "Let's get in the fight," he led his men through the enemy gunfire to the hot zone. Arriving at the second building, he and a teammate climbed to the
What an absolute badass. Oh my God. The balls on this man. Holy.
roof to engage the entrenched insurgents from above. From here, the team leader hoped to break the enemy's resistance, allowing the second team to advance. As the soldiers fought from the roof, they continued to take fire, not only from the enemy below, but also from the area around the prison.
So this is why I was saying about, remember that he's already had a vast amount of experience, because when he as someone who's had that amount of experience, I haven't had that amount of experience by any means. No way, not even a scrape on the experience this man's had. But I almost guarantee he heard that and was drawn to it. Not running away from it, not being like, oh no, we need to be careful of that. He was like, let's go help right now. It wasn't even, there was no other option. That was it in his mind. Let's go help right now. Crazy.
On top of that, the numerous explosions had set the building on fire. The flames spread to the upper floor, and some rooms were already filled with thick, dark smoke,
Oh my
causing
God.
the trapped hostages to run out of time. The risk of dying from smoke inhalation or even being burned alive increased with each passing minute.
Yeah.
After Kurdish and American special forces made several attempts to establish fire superiority and storm the building, they were finally able to push forward, suffering heavy casualties. Payne climbed down to the first floor again, glanced at the prisoner's door, and realized it was secured with the same thick lock as in the first building.
Okay.
The battle for the hostages was still raging, and Payne was aware that to rescue them, he would have to expose himself not only to enemy fire, but also to the toxic smoke that filled the hallway.
Yeah, he would have had to have gone in either way, let's be honest.
He had only a few seconds left to make a decision about the fate of the prisoners. He then grabbed a bolt cutter and, despite the enemy gunfire, ran to the steel door where he cut the first lock.
Wow.
The hot air and smoke were unbearable, so he had to go back immediately to take a breath. But there was a second lock blocking the door, and the hostages were still trapped. The Kurdish forces tried to open the lock themselves, but to no avail, so Payne again rushed into the inferno and broke the second lock as well.
Oh my days.
The combined forces then cleared each room to eliminate possible threats and free all the hostages. At that moment,
imagine being one of his team members and watching him do that, thinking, this guy. This guy. Holy. At that point, his team members were like, let's do everything we possibly can to help him. Everything we possibly can.
second message came in over the radio. The building was too badly damaged and was already beginning to collapse.
Oh my days.
All forces were ordered to evacuate, but Payne knew there were still hostages inside. Therefore, he voluntarily went back into the building and ran through the hallway despite the raging fire, as well as the unclear enemy situation.
Ooh.
Many of the hostages were confused and did not know what was going on, but Payne got them all outside.
All of them.
He then
Holy
returned to the building
crap.
2 more times to make sure that no one had been left behind.
Oh my days. Think about that for a second. He went back 2 more times. Holy shit.
Only when all people were safe, he left the hostile place and reported to his team leader that they were now ready to evacuate.
Wow.
When the special forces left the building complex, there were still enemies nearby.
Yeah.
So they took the hostages in their midst and walked like a human shield to the right and left of them. However, the civilians were so traumatized that they would reflexively stop every time the soldiers opened fire, which delayed the evacuation. Therefore,
that must have been super frustrating for the soldiers. They're probably like, "Get moving! We're getting shot at! Don't stop!"
special forces decided to cease their own covering fire, exposing themselves to greater danger
Oh
so
my
that the
God.
hostages would no longer be frightened and keep running.
Oh my days.
After the group finally arrived at the helicopters, Payne faced another problem. Because they had freed so many hostages, it was unclear whether the helicopters could handle all the extra
Oh,
load.
yep.
After some quick calculations, they were able to get everyone on board, but it was so cramped that the soldiers had to spend the entire flight standing up.
Right.
In total, 75 hostages were freed.
75 hostages is absolutely mental.
20 IS fighters were killed, and 5 others were detained. The
Wow.
hostages, Payne's strike team, and Kurdish partner forces returned to Erbil without incident.
That's
They had
mental.
participated in one of the largest hostage rescues in Special Forces history. For his actions that day, Payne was awarded the Medal of Honor in September
Imagine being a Medal of Honor recipient. Holy, look at the awards on that guy's frigging chest.
2020. He is the first Delta Force member to receive this special award,
Wow.
still being alive. The first 2 medals have been awarded posthumously to the snipers Shugart and Gordon for their actions at the Battle of Mogadishu in 1993.
Wow.
Unfortunately, Joshua Wheeler, who had been hit during the assault on the prison,
No.
succumbed to his wounds.
Oh,
He had led his team relentlessly
that
against the enemy
sucks.
forces to support his comrades from the other squad. When Wheeler was hit, he was at the head of his men. For the courageous action regardless of enemy fire, he was posthumously awarded the Silver Star.
Oh, that's
A
heartbreaking.
brotherhood that no one else could ever understand.
What a video. What a video. Absolutely brilliant by Brothers in Arms. Please go over there and give it a subscribe if you haven't already. What a great video. The balls on that man. Holy. Can you imagine? Whew. You can't even put it into words. Like, the amount of guts you've got to have to do something like that is definitely Medal of Honor, you know, awarded. Unbelievable. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Don't forget to check out that questionnaire as well down below. Other than that, I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.